Imagine this. Jake is sitting in a small apartment in Austin, Texas, staring at a notebook filled with million-dollar ideas. He's been thinking, planning, researching for months. Across the country, in Columbus, Ohio, his friend Marcus has a pretty average idea. Nothing revolutionary. But Marcus starts. 3 months later, Marcus has a rough website, a few customers, and real feedback. Jake, still perfecting the plan. That gap right there, that's the entire story. Because the truth is simple and a little uncomfortable. Ideas are everywhere. Execution is rare. Everyone has that moment, maybe while driving through Los Angeles traffic or sitting in a cafe in New York City, when a powerful idea hits. Start a business, get in shape, build something meaningful. But most people stop at the idea. They think about it, talk about it, maybe even research it, but they never actually move. And that's why dreamers are everywhere, but results are not. Execution isn't just starting, it's continuing when it gets messy. Because the second you take an idea out of your head and into real life, it fights back. Things break, plans fall apart. You realize it's harder than you imagined.
But here's the twist. That's exactly where growth begins. People wait for the perfect moment, when they feel ready, when everything is clear. But that moment doesn't exist. Not in Austin, not in New York, not anywhere. The people who win, they start before they feel ready. Think about a kid learning to ride a bike in a neighborhood in Denver. They don't read 10 books on balance. They don't wait until they feel ready. They get on, fall, get up, and try again. That's how learning actually works. But as adults, we forget that. We replace action with overthinking. We tell ourselves, I'll start when I'm confident. But confidence doesn't come before action. It comes because of action. You don't think your way into confidence. You build your way into it. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Even if your idea isn't great, execution can still win. Marcus didn't have the best idea, but he had movement, and movement creates feedback. Feedback creates improvement, and improvement creates results.
Jake had the better idea, but no reality to test it against. So his idea never evolved. Because ideas don't grow in your head, they grow in the real world. And there's another trap that quietly destroys progress: learning without doing. You watch videos, read books, take notes, maybe even feel productive. But imagine trying to learn swimming by reading about it in a library in Chicago. You understand the strokes, the breathing, the theory, but until you step into the water, none of it counts. That's how most people live: constant input, zero output. And slowly they confuse knowing with doing. Now, here's where everything changes. Real transformation doesn't come from huge, dramatic moves. It comes from small, daily actions, 1% better, every single day. It sounds small, almost insignificant, but it compounds. If someone in San Diego improves just 1% every day, writing a little, learning a little, building a little, by the end of the year, they're not the same person anymore, not even close. Because consistency beats intensity. Working 5 hours once and quitting for a week doesn't change your life, but one focused hour every day, that rewires everything. It builds discipline, and discipline builds identity. You stop being someone who wants to change and become someone who actually does. And that identity shift, that's where real power lives. But there's one more shift most people never make. They stay consumers, scrolling through TikTok in Miami, watching YouTube in Seattle, absorbing content all day. Consumption is easy. Creation is hard. That's why most people stay stuck. But the moment you switch from consuming to producing, everything changes. Instead of just watching videos, you create one. Instead of just reading ideas, you write your own. Instead of just using the internet, you contribute to it. And suddenly, you're not just part of the system, you're building something inside it. That's where opportunities come from. That's where money comes from. That's where growth accelerates. Because the world rewards value creators, not passive consumers. Now, let's bring this down to something real, something you can actually use starting today. Pick one thing, just one. Not 10 goals, not a life overhaul. One direction. Maybe it's fitness. Maybe it's content creation. Maybe it's building something like your project. Shrink it. So small it feels almost too easy. If it's writing, write 1 paragraph a day. If it's fitness, do 15 minutes. If it's business, reach out to one person or build one small piece. That's it. Then follow one simple rule. Don't miss twice. You'll mess up. Everyone does.
But never let one missed day become 2. Because consistency isn't about being perfect, it's about returning quickly. Next, create more than you consume. If you watch one video, create something after. A note, a post, a thought, a small output. Train your brain to shift from passive to active. And finally, stop waiting to feel ready. You won't. Start messy, start unsure, start imperfect. Because clarity doesn't come before action, it comes from action. If Jake had started, he would have learned, adjusted, improved. If Marcus had waited, he'd still be thinking. And the difference between those two paths isn't intelligence, talent, or even the idea. It's one decision: to begin. So the next time an idea hits you, don't admire it, use it. Because ideas spark the fire, but execution is what keeps it burning.